Listen, this is part 3 of how I'm gonna get banned from the internet. All right. If a man can have sex with hundreds or thousands of women, and he is monogamous with you, he is settling.
Welcome to Chew the Fat. I am your host, Smooth, and today we are going to talk about relationships through the eyes of a professional licensed trauma counselor. This particular person has went viral all over the internet. And as you know, on the Chew the Fat with Smooth show, we allow our guests to introduce themselves.
What's going on, y'all? It's Jeff James. As was stated by my honorable host, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been working in the field for over a decade. Service clients in North Philadelphia and working at the largest mental health nonprofit in the city. And I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. So I would love to know just a little bit about you. Like, where did you grow up?
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm actually originally from Philly. I lived there only until I was in 3rd grade, and then I moved out here to Willingboro in Burlington, New Jersey, and stayed there all through my high school years. Went to BCIT West Tech, and during that time, I, like everybody else, was just figuring out life and what I wanted to do with my life. And following high school, I went to college, tried a couple different fields. I was a history major at one point. I think I was a business major at one point, and I landed in on mental health counseling, and I stuck with it and went through and got my master's. And later on, through working in the field, I ended up attaining my license, becoming certified trauma therapist, and just been out in the field.
Awesome. So that's a big change. What made you decide that, you know what? Forget history. I want to study trauma. I want to know human psychology. What made you take that leap?
It's a very, very small private institution, and I was thinking about costs and the ability for how soon I can graduate, and the way that it looked. I was actually going to be able to leave in the same amount of time if I had switched my major, and which I did, and get the master's, than staying in the other program that I was in. So, I got a couple academic mentors that was like, hey, you could potentially go get a doctorate if you want. You can get a master's, but for you to just get an associate's or bachelor's, based on how you think, will probably be you lowballing yourself. So I decided to take a gamble and test it out, and here I am.
Awesome. Now, you ended up in this space on the internet, right? How did that happen?
This year, I finally decided to get into podcasting and introduce myself to the world in terms of my trade and what it is that I do. And funny enough, I kind of did the unorthodox way. I started, instead of shooting my own content, I decided to just let other platforms know who I am and what I'm about, and see if they would welcome me on. And after about 4 podcasts, before I knew it, 1 or 2 of them started to catch some people's eyes. And then the one with the ladies at Sharing My Truth podcast in Canada, they specifically were asking me about men and men's issues, and we were reacting to the show Adolescence on Netflix. And hundreds and thousands of men from all over, not just the country, but the world, just came through and said, finally, a mental health therapist who's acknowledging that men have issues too. And I kind of knew this, but I didn't realize how rare it was and how few working professionals and clinicians were willing to speak out that men also have unique issues and challenges as well.
Right. So I think a lot of people have a different type of understanding of what it is that you do. A lot of people think you're just here to jump into space and talk about men's issues, but apparently this isn't something that you were focusing on. This was just a topic that came up, and so happened to go viral. Okay. Now that we're here, do you feel like there is a void that you could possibly fill as concerning men's voices?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think I'm the only one. There are other people who have come before me. Kevin Samuels is one of the famous examples, of course. I like to believe that the way I'm looking at it and trying to approach it is imagining somebody who's attempting to be more professional and objective and acknowledging that there's unique issues and challenges within both sexes versus just, hey, my target audience is men or my target audience is women, so I'm going to pander to this group or that. Me pointing out unique issues or challenges or things that either side needs to grow on is just kind of how I would see it if an individual person from either side came into a therapy session. And that's kind of how I'm approaching it just with the public.
No, this is good because I understand that there's a lot of men who don't seemingly have a voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the men that we see on the internet, sometimes they are very angry,
Mm-hmm.
not articulate, and they're just not heard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's something different that you're doing that's making people listen to you? And if so, what is that?
Well, threefold. In my field and in most fields, there's been a heavy emphasis with leaning more into feminine centric, female centric perspective on things, with a devaluing or removal of men's experiences and perspectives. So, if anything, me bringing these things up is actually trying to balance stuff, not trying to say, let's get women out the way and their perspective, right? Which is kind of how it's, some people are kind of taking it. Not really. I think there's a space and place for both of us at the table. And this issue between men and women and other related issues really won't be resolved if only one side gets to be the mouthpiece of what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And about the way people are perceiving it,
Mm-hmm.
we obviously do understand that naturally men would hear the messages that have at least went viral and
Mm-hmm.
love what they're hearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most men, that's what they're going to appreciate. Now, women, on the other hand, have you had any positive feedback from women? Because I've seen some of the negative already.
Oh man, yeah. I definitely have. Despite how loud the negative voices are, there's been a lot of women, a lot of women, older women, black women who are also saying, you know what? I'm seeing some of this on our side too. I'm acknowledging that there's things we need to grow in and get better at, and maybe we do need to hear our boyfriends and our husbands and our fathers better than maybe we were accustomed to hearing. And maybe there's unique um, perspectives, Jeff, that you're bringing up that I hadn't thought of. I'm actually getting a lot of that.
Okay.
And two, I live my life where I don't base my identity and my value and my happiness on people who ain't rocking with me.
Got it.
Because it's like, if I base it on that, I may never be happy. So
Right.
for me, I had to get to a place mentally and emotionally where I'm pretty centered and okay with myself to be able to espouse and put out these points.
Yeah, because it's a lot to deal with. I've dealt with some of that,
Mm.
putting out messages, and you're going to get a lot of hate, and sometimes the hate's really loud. But I'm sure you understand that there's a bigger picture, right?
Yep.
I get the idea that you're not just trying to make it advantage men. You want people to actually be able to grow in relationships, right? And people understand each other, and
Hmm.
that's the part about it. And I'm sure there's been instances where you spoke about things that men can do. I've heard
Absolutely.
some,
Yeah.
but nobody really hears
That's usually
that.
how it works, man. Men's engagement is very fascinating. For whatever reason, men tend to watch, but they don't always engage. And if they are going to engage a lot, it's usually for the negative, and it's usually when a woman is saying something that they don't like or seeing something that she's doing or behaving. That's when men will comment a lot. With women, they'll engage positively and negatively, depending on the site, TikTok, Instagram.
Right.
They're going to be very responsive, good and bad. Men, when you're doing what it is they like, they may follow you. They will probably watch, but they're just not as they're not always going to engage in a way. But what's been shocking is on my particular channel, which I recently started. It's been a huge amount of men from South Africa, from Berlin, from various countries. I think I got a message from a guy in UK, France, them saying
Wow.
like, we don't even hear this over here. So the fact that you had the balls to put that out there in a predominantly female dominated space and environment where making any distinctions about men and women is interpreted as sexist. It's nice for somebody to just acknowledge that we exist and that our issues matter.
That's awesome. So we're gonna get into the business now, right? We're definitely gonna have some relationship talk here. That's what we are here to do. This is where we have some serious issues, right? Particularly amongst us, black people, right? We are having a serious disconnect. I think that ultimately everyone does want to be with the person from the opposite sex, but everyone has extremely different ideas as to what that's supposed to look like, right? And it's now to the point where there's an apparent gender war, and
Supposedly.
no one wants to hear each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So that's a major thing. One of the things that I normally hear people say on the internet is this person is a narcissist, right? The word narcissist is often overused to describe a part in a relationship, right? People are just saying, he's a narcissist. They might have a problem with him. He's a narcissist. Can you describe the actual characteristics of a narcissistic person and what they actually do?
Yeah, so first, it's actually really important to separate narcissism versus narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of times when people are describing their exes or people who they had fallen out with, a lot of them probably don't meet the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. There may be certain traits that they've exhibited. And honestly, when I think about it, a lot of us have probably had some of these traits randomly here or there at different points in our life. Some of them would include like a overinflated sense of self of importance, preoccupied or obsession or compulsion with fame, status, wealth, feeling entitled, arrogant, just seeking others primarily through either transactional or utilitarian approaches, not really valuing people for people. And then also, just wanting to take advantage of others, requiring admiration, and just an overall lack of empathy. All of those things I just listed basically means they pretty much don't care about other people.
Right.
You need about 5 of those.
Oh,
5 out of that 9 in order to even qualify. And then on top of that, it has to be shown over a certain duration of time. It has to actually be a problem. So not everybody and you have to see it in various contexts or circumstances. It can't be they're a narcissist because they only had one negative experience or negative experiences with just you and you alone. Family, friends, past lovers, current lovers, they don't have these issues. They just had it with you. Highly unlikely that that's the result of them actually being a narcissist or narcissistic personality. That's probably a reflection of just the dynamics between you both, whether it's differences of attachment style, unresolved issues, past trauma from previous relationships. That probably explains what's happening between you two. And oftentimes the talking point is when it didn't work out, it's because they were a narcissist. Like, you don't just immediately jump, right? You don't just immediately jump to everybody in the world is now, everybody where life doesn't work out with you doesn't mean they belong in the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. Like, no, like it's possible for people to just not vibe with you, get along with you. And there's things that they got to work on, things you got to work on. It doesn't instantly mean like both of y'all got a mental health issue all of a sudden.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of this is due to people having access to Google in their hands at all. You have access to it. So they'll say, they'll see somebody describing a narcissist on the internet. And then they'll say, oh, wait, I think so. And then they'll say, what are some characteristics of a narcissist? And then they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's them. I'm with the narcissist. Right. And now you're the victim.
Yeah, we will treat mental health terminology. A lot of times people are treating mental health terminology very similar to astrology, where it's like a fortune cookie or astrology, where once they hear something, they'll look in areas of their life or relationship to make it fit. And in reality, it's like, no, like, so, what's your sign? Oh, I'm a Aries. And they'd be like, I knew you was an Aries. And they'd be like, well, how'd you know I was an Aries? And then they'll start describing all these things to make you fit in that picture. And then you'll be like, you know what? Actually, I'm a Leo. And they won't know what to do with that. And that's often how we're treating mental health related stuff, where now everything is trauma. Everybody's toxic. Everybody now is a narcissist. In reality, it's like they're making people fit into boxes that they potentially don't fit. They're using their confirmation bias to make a person fit into a particular category.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. What impacts has feminism had on modern day relationships?
I see you trying to get me kicked off the internet already, right? Um, all right. So since I know some third and fourth wave feminists are really, really angry with me right now, I'm going to first start with the positives. Women got the right to choose who they could marry, who they could have sex with, who they can have children with. They were able to be able to leave a toxic or abusive relationship now. They even get financial benefits to being able to take care of themselves if they have to leave an environment like that. Those are all positive things. Choice, being able to leave, being able to stay, being able to not be stranded and homeless if you have to leave a horrible situation. Those are the, to me, really many of the really good or even great things that came with feminism in regards to relationships. Some of the flaws, unfortunately, that same level of optionality of being able to pick and choose has resulted in less marriages staying together, less relationships. Women now are, for the first time in history, not for the first time in history, in modern times in America, we're at a place where so many women are working and their standards for the type of man that they want are going up as they're making more and doing more, that the pool of men that they are looking as suitable partners is becoming less and less. And this is probably the largest group of women in their 20s and 30s that are single with no actual prospects and they don't want to be. So there, a lot of them are lonely and they don't want to be. A lot of them want to be married and they can't be. Many of them are starting to get into at-risk pregnancy territory. These are all aspects of the sexual liberation and feminist movement. So it's created an environment where women were incentivized and praised and pushed for being independent, being able to leave, to elevate and centralize happiness. And now it's left us with an environment where slowly but surely other major ethnic groups are starting to move into the direction of what we were saying was so bad in the Black community. High single mother rates, low marital rates, high divorce rates, men and women not being able to do life together. That's a very rampant and obvious problem in the Black community that's now spreading to other demographics, not just here in the States, but also globally in other westernized countries. Men and women now are having to come to grips with, in the quest for women to gain all this freedom, gain all of these access to things, there were either intended or unintended consequences that's led to where we're at now. Plain and simple, a lot of them are not better than where they were in most areas other than economically than their mothers or grandmothers.
So some of the points you listed as being positives, I think, are the major cause for what you mentioned as negatives, right?
Like what?
Like women being able to choose the sex partners that they want, right? As a result, now you have high single mother rates, right?
Yeah.
Our STD rates are ridiculous right now. So this is these are problematic. Do you think that we could somehow tweak it back a little bit? Is that something that seems realistic? Because I mean, I understand the sexual liberation, but look what it's caused, right? Yeah. Look what it's done to families. Look what it's done to the nuclear family. And sometimes people hate the word nuclear family, but when we had nuclear families, people were actually happy. People weren't on as many psychiatric meds. No, people were able to leave legacies behind for their children. Now it's so much harder on women. And I understand that the freedoms, we don't want to take any liberties away from women.
Yeah.
But at some point, right, it seems like there is no direction right now. I think that, in my opinion, women honestly lean towards men for direction. Maybe not as much now, but I think that when they did, we had better results. What would you say about that?
There were pros and cons. There was a reason for why many of them wanted to leave in the past and make their own money and be able to purchase their own properties and be able to leave relationships. I'm not going to grandiose the past and make it seem like everybody was better and happy. They weren't. Some people were and some people weren't. And a lot of the mothers and grandmothers that raised their children spoke from a place of pain and trauma. And it conditioned 2 consecutive generations of women to now operate more from a scarcity mindset, from a fear mindset and anxiety mindset in relation to men. So everything that you do and how you move needs to be as if a man will not be there or he can leave. And now they move as such. So unfortunately, it's like that didn't just come out of nowhere. There was some legitimate reasons for why there was a push to begin with. I do think there were some nefarious reasons for why feminism was specifically pushed, but there was some legit things going on back then. And the question is if there's a cost in both areas. There was a cost when women had less choice, and there's a cost now with the choices that they've made. Which one is better, and what would be the compromise? I'm gonna be honest with you. They're not going back. I mean, I'm meaning and referencing women. By and large, the overwhelming majority of them are not going to go back. They don't want to go back to anything close to limiting any area. We see this in conversations when it comes to public conversations and even conversations amongst couples about how she dresses, her image, how she carries herself, what she posts online in terms of sex work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is not a single area that third and fourth wave feminists want to pull back from if it pertains to reeling in women's freedom, liberty, and rights. There's nothing that they want to. So basically, there is no room. They're not giving an inch. So the reality is the only way they get there is if they hit the wall. Wow. They hit the. I'm being honest. Sometimes these things we overcomplicate these things. What's more likely to change a woman's perspective? Me saying something, you saying something, every man on the planet saying something, or her outcomes changing to such a degree in her life to where she realizes she'll be forced to adjust or stay alone. That's much more likely to happen. I'm bringing attention to what's happening to just plant seeds for men and women to wake up to kind of what's going on that's causing a lot of the division. But no, I don't anticipate that Jeff's talking now, so all the women gonna listen to him. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not naive to that, right? Like, no. When we say, is it fixable and is it solvable? For some of us, it is. For some of us, it is. It's not for everybody. And the same way I make a distinction between black people and ninjas, or black people and hyenas, that's what it is in every single ethnic group. The difference is this: in every other major ethnic group, they have their people who are great reflections of their community and people who are not. We're the primary and only group which elevates the worst aspects of our culture.
Wow.
So if it's going to change from a male lens, the only way it's going to change is if we stop rewarding the bad behavior.
Right.
For women, the only way it's going to change is if they stop going to the men and giving to the men that they know don't deserve it, the things that should be due to the man that's actually a good guy, the nice guy. The guys you ignore, those are the ones that are supposed to get your best. Those are the ones that are supposed to get access to your fertility, to kids, to marriage, to commitment. And what happens is they try to give these things to men that A don't want all of that, or B, aren't going to handle it well, and C, they know most other women want as well and are trying to force him to be monogamous and committed to just them lifelong forever.
This is something that I see as a serious issue, right?
Yep.
You have women. One of the things that you mentioned, we kind of talk about that. That's what we refer to as pricing yourself out of the market, right? Mm-hmm. So women want the best of men and they feel like they deserve it. And sometimes they do, right? But what you have to understand is the mindset of these men. If every single woman is chasing the same type of men, which is virtually the top 10 to 20% of men, right? If you're not making over 100,000, if you're not over 6 feet, if you're not charismatic, they want you to be the Dos Equis guys. They want you to have every skill set possible. And I think that men, do ourselves a disservice collectively. Not as an individual, of course, it's great for you, but as a collective, men actually dating these women and giving them access to, and they don't really want them. They won't follow through. But the problem is they're not forthcoming. The game looks the same. And that's one thing I always complain about. The game looks the same. Men generally aren't very honest with these women. I've talked about it because women will not punch down, right? Pretty much, right? But men will. Men will. And they will absolutely not pursue for marriage, but for a fling, for a short term, they will go down just because maybe low hanging fruit, less
Yeah.
of a hassle or whatever. And they're not very honest with these women. And I think we're doing ourselves an absolute disservice by doing that, because now, once a woman gets a taste of that, that's her speed. And she thinks that that's what she's supposed to be dealing with from now on.
That's not her level.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, that's not it. Whereas if I went and I caught a baddie, a dime that particular night, I already know, damn, I got that off. Right?
Yeah, you got lucky. You got
I
lucky.
got that off. And I'm like, oh, but that doesn't mean that now it's all
This is all I
dimes
should
from now on. No. I understand that I got that off.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, is there a way that we can, and I don't want to say convince them, but have women at least realize that this is a thing, and sometimes these men that they really want don't have the best intentions, and you can't make them.
Winter is coming, and the wall is undefeated. The reality, like, we keep talking about this topic as if we haven't all experienced the reality and truth of how hard it is to change anybody's mind about most things. Most of us, men and women, go off of experience in terms of that's just the reality of it. Yes, it's true. There are going to be some men and some women that learn from their mistakes and adapt and grow and move on. A huge percentage of them are not. Like, they're just that. When you say men are being dishonest, facts, true. I've been one of those men. Like,
Me too.
Right.
I can't throw it.
right. So my view is that if we were born in another time in another culture where polygyny was more normalized, where it wasn't unusual for a man of means, of wealth, of status to have 1, 2, 3, 4 wives and or concubines, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. The issue is that when you live in modernity where all the titles are removed and where women are trying to enforce monogamy, where I will break up with you and I'll divorce you and take you to court and get alimony and child support,
Right.
you've created a market where in the past and previous generations, they accounted for male sexuality, they accounted for male value, and they accounted for male promiscuity, where they acknowledged that this existed, that women would sign up for it if he met certain markers. And now in modernity, you don't allow that. So you're taking men that are celebrities, athletes, some of the most desirable men in these given cities, plopping them into modern times, and are expecting them to act different than all men in almost all ancient civilizations throughout the history of time. Where else in any other culture was a man that was a top 1 or 5 or 10% man in the country required to be with one woman for the next 40 to 60 years of his life?
For the record, do you think that it would work better if we were not forced into monogamy?
Yes. 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 And it's not even just speaking as a therapist. Let's just slow down with this logically. A lot of y'all that's going through the divorces, women specifically, if you're coming out too late, now you're competing. If you're in your 40s and you got divorced, you're now trying to compete with women that's in their 40s, 30s, and 20s with the small pool of men that you actually want. You're 40. You probably don't want a 20-year-old. You may not even want a 30-year-old. And a lot of the men that's at your age, if they also are making really good money, they may not be checking for you. So you've created, by the rampant increase of leaving, 70 to 80% of initiations of divorces, the single mother households, the trauma, the struggle to pair bond. When you factor all of these things in, a lot of these things were created because you were trying to take an external law and external consequences to change men's nature.
They're gonna get you for that one.
That's fine. That's fine. But what I will say is this: not all men qualify for that privilege.
Right.
And in the past, that was the case. When women hear me and Miss Ali and other figures speak on the issue about polygyny, I always ask the question: if you had to choose between giving one man 20 chances or 20 men one chance, which would you choose? A lot of women's lifestyles and their actions, if you ask them straight out, I don't tolerate cheating. First or second time, I'm done. Okay, you keep racking up the body count. None of these guys are paying dowries. None of these men are having to meet your family, stand before God, stand before the church or some religious ceremony. They don't have to do any of these things. Y'all are giving them access. You're giving them access to these things, and then you're shocked when most of the men that y'all want don't want marriage. You're leaving the ones that do marry you because they cheated, and the ones that can't cheat because nobody wants them, you don't want them. This is the market you created. The reason why these previous generations, especially 3, 4, 500 plus years ago, was probably not going through these things is because they accounted for what the issues are you're focusing on now. The reality is this was an interesting social experiment. There was some great pros and some great cons, and whether the state recognizes it or not, a lot of y'all are already sharing anyway. You're sharing when you're not married to your baby daddy and he dating somebody else. You're sharing his time, you're sharing his energy, you're sharing his resources. You're sharing a lot. Okay, like this is why I'm not gonna make it long on the internet. Hold on, aren't they sharing?
Listen, you don't have to tell me. I know they share.
First of all, you already sharing. So that thing that was considered a privilege for a man to be able to do something like that, you're allowing men to be able to have options with children and relationships and dating and sex without giving you marriage. And I'm like, the guys who in the past would have been called dukes, earls,
right,
princes, kings are still running through the women. They just don't have to reap the consequences of getting married or getting remarried.
Right.
So y'all can keep pushing this enforced monogamy thing. That's why men are doing MGTOW, men going their own way. You have men that are opting out of no longer going to clubs. They're no longer pursuing women. They're not asking them out at work anymore. They're not pursuing them at the gym. A lot of these men.
So what are they doing?
A lot of these men are prioritizing themselves in terms of happiness and hobbies and keeping themselves busy.
But what are they doing?
They will outsource the sex on a transactional basis.
Oh, okay.
They will go overseas once a
like
season.
Passport Bros?
Yeah, what they're learning and adapting to is the market where women in the West have prioritized their happiness over family, their happiness over marriage.
So I want to ask you about that because a little earlier we spoke about the that there were people from Europe, people from South Africa, everywhere else. Mm-hmm. There's many people who believe that this problem is only here. But I think it's spreading now.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that the state is probably better in some instances, but I think that this ideology, this feminism, is absolutely spreading. Would you explain to those who might be wondering about getting a passport, if that's the thing to do, like, what do you know about what's going on elsewhere?
So not all men's reasons and justifications for doing this is even the same. You have men who can get women here and choose to do it over there because it's just literally cheaper. It's cheaper to buy a home. There's less red tape. There's less back and forth. There's more understanding of traditional roles. So they're like, yeah, I can get women here, but I got to deal with the alimony, the family court, the drama, the social media, the trying to live like Cardi B and this person that. They're like, I can just go to another spot where she ain't even got a social media page. Like, that's not even like a thing, and life is just easier and simpler for them. Then there's also other men who they can't get the women here. So now they have to take their money and their lack of charisma, their lack of fashion, their lack of confidence and go abroad where women are seeing dollar signs above their head and they both understand what it is. The difference is that over there, they still know it's transactional, but they're nicer.
Right.
They're still more feminine. And then you'll have men, like I said before, with MGTOW, men going their own way. There are men who are black-pilled and just simply checking out. They're like,
yeah, black
and their lens, and this is super duper important to all the women who are confused at why men aren't pursuing them as much anymore. When they're doing the speed dating things, and when all the women arrive, there's no men that showing up to these events. Like, something's going on, and I would argue this. It's just a hypothesis. And again, you're right. I'm gonna keep getting killed when I say this. If you owned a store and none of the customers was coming to buy your products, you don't get to say the problem is the customers. The product, the problem is the product. The problem is what's being presented to the public, and the public feeling that what's being presented isn't worth what the price tag is. So if they're seeing other women, so they don't hate women if they're going to other women, right?
Correct.
Whoa.
It's hard to argue
So
that.
why are they going to the store across the street and not your store? The lack of self-reflection. It's easier to say it's the men and it's only the men that's the problem, and not saying, yeah, there's things that men need to work on. But when you refuse to look introspectively and you say the reason for the dating market is just only men not measuring up and leveling up, what version of you have you turned into that people will go hundreds or thousands of miles away to replace you? It's just a thought.
Well,
I wonder if the store owner or the person who has all these products that aren't coming off the shelf is going to reevaluate. Am I estimating the value of these products too high?
right.
Do I need to switch up my branding? Do I need to evaluate if I'm overestimating what it is that I'm bringing to the table and offering to the public? Why is my store about to close down and I'm about to hit the wall and lose my business versus adjusting to what the customers want? If you are a woman who always gets attention from men because you're a woman and you're beautiful, and you're not ending up with the type of caliber of men you want, I wonder if there's something that you're presenting there's something that you're presenting to them of how they're interpreting your behavior, your words, and your actions that's not matching how you're feeling and thinking you are.
Right, and that's something that I do say that in general men are able to do a little bit better is to look at it objectively and make the improvements. Me myself,
Yeah.
I've actually went through a situation where, you know, when I was younger, I was a late bloomer. I wasn't a Mac out of the womb like a lot of dudes claim to be.
Same.
I kind of just
I think most weren't.
Right, I had to get my heart broken a couple times in my teenage
Absolutely.
years, and then I didn't blame it on society because I realized that there were other dudes who were successful that I felt like I kind of measured up to, but I must have been doing something wrong. I had myself a little experiment. I got everything right, and then, you know, it was one of those situations where I took advantage of what was given to me,
Yeah.
which is kind of being polygamous at the time, right? I think one of the hardest things for us to do, like you mentioned, is to look introspectively and say, look, this just isn't right. Most people don't do that. And I think that a big part of it is because of social media.
Yeah.
You're able to go into other people who can relate to what it is you're doing, and you'll hear it. And then your algorithm will train you to continue to follow these people. And then you have
Yes.
these echo chambers.
Yes.
So what I wanted to ask you was, how do you think social media has negatively or positively impacted relationships today?
Oof. I think it's mostly bad, unfortunately. I do believe that it has tricked us in terms of the belief in an abundance and optionality of the opposite sex. Partially, in both sexes, it's for different reasons. For men, the objectification of women, both in terms of when we objectify them and when they objectify themselves, has conditioned us to really, really struggle with lust. We're getting access to seeing more women naked than kings in medieval times ever saw in their entire lifetime.
I'll keep it G. My Explorer page is tore up.
Right? Like, so,
I don't even open it in front of anybody.
So think, what is this doing to us as men when we saw 500 women naked having sex by the time we were 18 digitally?
Right.
Right? That doesn't even play into the open Wild Wild West actual dating market in terms of how people are approaching sex. So it's kind of it's probably damaged us to a degree to where it's very, very difficult for us to really understand and conceptualize the importance of monogamy, the importance of stability, and the importance of not leaning in our carnal nature and impulses that could potentially cause our demise financially, emotionally, and psychologically, which is often the case of why so many men end up taking themselves out. They oftentimes take themselves out of here after dealing with a negative interaction with a woman where a relationship fell apart. I was there. I was very close to that. So
Really?
I was at a spot and point when I did the Playboy thing. I did the City Boy thing for about huge half
City
my
boys up.
right. I was up for real, right? And it was very, very difficult to be the guy that my ex at the time probably needed. And I failed. I failed morally. Um, I failed sexually in terms of just not being able to figure out how to kind of slow down and stop doing this. And a lot of men's time of intentionally trying to practice sexual discipline is only when they're in a relationship.
Right.
And that's what happened, where I'm trying to figure out how to do the right thing in real time while I'm hurting the
Yeah,
women I'm
that
with.
it kind of doesn't work that way in anything else that you try to do. You're trying to learn to be a professional at a relationship while you're in it.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. So imagine you take on a job that requires a high level of certifications, degrees, and experience, and you have none of those things, and you're getting a performance evaluation every week. You're gonna lose that spot a little sooner than you realize, and you're going to keep being reminded, and they're going to keep being reminded why you're not meant to be in this role in my life. That is what's happening. Is a lot of times we're trying and attempting to establish and maintain sexual discipline, but we're only able to try to do that when we're in a relationship. We don't practice and try to do that when we're single. On our own, we just out here doing our thing. So, I think social media has definitely damaged our view and perspective of women. It's definitely messed with us to the degree of where it's like, and then what you said with the algorithms, we have a much more negative view of them in terms of their nature, their actions, their behaviors, as a result of watching all this content where we're seeing the worst of women,
Right.
the dumbest women, the worst women, the most evil women are now, we're starting to project that onto all women with how we talk, with how we carry ourselves, with how we treat them. It happens. And I believe that a lot of guys who end up black pill and check out, it's because they've overestimated the worst aspects of what women have to offer, and now they've undervalued the positives that come with doing life with women. So there's a little bit of that. On the women's side, from a comparison standpoint, optionality, the ability, a belief system that they can replace men from all over the world being able to access them so freely, has, like you said earlier, tricked them into believing that if and when a man that has means, wealth, or is very good looking has access to you sexually, you believe that you're now on his level when usually you're not. The overwhelming majority of women that's in his rotation, that's in his list of body counts, they're not his equivalent. That's why you're on the roster. That's why you were on the list versus being the only one. If he can sleep with you and your homegirls, and a lot of beautiful women notice him in the room, and he's respected by most men and desired by most women, if you're not a 9 or 10, you're not on his level. I know you think you are, but you're not. But then they carry themselves that way, which results in them overlooking all the men that are actually at their level. So average women, we've heard it from Kevin, we've heard it from Fresh and Fit, we've heard it from all these different people. Social media has rigged and trained a lot of women's views of themselves in relation to the dating market, in relation to other men, to where they genuinely believe that most men that are average looking, average wealth, are no longer qualified for them. And with feminism, to add to the social media component, when you factor in that they've made money, and now their perspective is men that make less or substantially less than me, I can't date. And if men are average looking, and I've dated or messed with a Chad, I can't date those type of guys either. They're now chasing, and then they're comparing all the DMs and the likes and all this external validation is convincing them that they have more options than they actually do. So, it's distorted men's perspective of women. I think it's distorted women's perspective of themselves, and before you know it, now you have a small pool of men who's just living it up. And unfortunately, I was one of those guys where, I'm in a school where a huge percentage of the women aren't interested in most of the men. And if you were fairly charismatic, knew how to dress, were above average in the looks department, you could take a whole classroom.
It's a wrap.
You're taking a whole classroom, right? So, and that was what it was. And you were allowed to.
Right.
And you were allowed to. So all the traditional patriarchal things that was in place to prevent you as a man from being able to have that much access to women with not leading to any other outcomes, when you removed all the patriarchal restraints, all the protections, and now you said sexual liberation, have fun. Oh, and here's social media, so you can constantly compare the man, the engagement, the home, the car, and the travel to what everybody else got going on. Now you are looking at all other men and saying, if he can't provide what my homegirl got or what this one got, disqualified. He don't make this much, disqualified. This guy was real good looking, or this athlete, this dude hit me up. It's tricked us into believing that we have more options than we do. And now we're at a point or place where we would, not all, but a lot of people would rather wait and or be alone indefinitely, with a belief in mind that at some point it'll just mysteriously come.
Yeah, there's a lot of women who really feel like God is just going to spawn their perfect match, right? The man that they actually deserve.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely a situation where women are absolutely overestimating their value. And I don't want to tell women that they are less valuable than they think, but you are. I'm sorry. If I came out and started saying I was a 10, then people would tell you, "Hey man, are you crazy?" Like, I don't get it twisted. Listen. If I wanted to, I could do what it do. I'm married now, but I'll be chilling. But if I wanted to, I could be out here beasting, right? But it doesn't mean that I think I'm God's gift to women, right? I feel like, okay, cool. I'm out here. I'm gonna do what I can, and that's it. It doesn't mean that I can just get any woman that I want. No one really believes that. There's not enough men for that. And there's also the issue that women think that there are more men than there are. When you ask percentages,
more men than they want. Yeah.
Like, so there's not as many men as they think there are. Yeah. Meaning, like, let's say, how many men make over 100,000 a year? What percentage of men? They'll say, oh, at least like 40%. No, no, it's like half that, if that, right? You're talking about maybe 20%. How many men are over 6 feet? What are you talking about? It's like 14%, right? And then if you put those two together, you are looking at, and then if you say he's not married,
make him black and actually single.
Now you're talking about less than 1% of men. It's a .0 something like.
Yeah.
So we have to understand what's going on here. When you think, if you feel like, if women could say they could feel like they could get one of these men, but when you give them the numbers, sometimes they think about it, right? And they're like, whoa, are you telling me there's act? But most women don't even realize that.
I don't, it's going to sound crazy. We've watched all these podcasts. We've seen all these discussions. I don't think it changes. I don't think the numbers is what does it for most women. I think when you saying out loud or me saying out loud, this is your statistical likelihood of being able to do this, they'd be like, he's out there. Right? He's out there. Crazy. Well, I still believe it. If I was a therapist and they were sitting across from me, I would actually say, oh, so you identify as a 10. These are the high level of standards that you want. Are you experiencing 10 outcomes? Are you experiencing a 10's outcomes? Because a 10's outcomes would have 3 men that are ready to marry her tomorrow. 3 men of which she would want. Highly respectable, highly desired, respected by his peers, higher top of the field of what he's doing. Those are 10 outcomes. So you pulling DM receipts, you pulling a couple bags that you got, some steakhouse dinners. that's not what 10 outcomes actually are. You want to know what 10 outcomes actually are? True 9 and 10 outcomes are that they didn't have to go through 20 guys to get to the guy they wanted. They didn't have to go through all these things with men to finally arrive at Prince Charming. So yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. I think that the wall will teach a lot of people. I think that Mother Nature will teach a lot of people when they have fertility issues. And I think that if you ask introspective questions, like, all right, when you ask them, where do they rank themselves? Nine,
Right.
10, whatever. And then I say, all right, this celebrity that was able to get access to Michael B. Jordan was able to get access to this celebrity, that celebrity, this celebrity, that celebrity. If you're a 9 or if you're a 10, what is she? 40 or 50? Right?
Yes.
Because my lens and perspective is the women who are actually that number are getting those outcomes.
Right.
They're getting multimillionaires to fly them around all the time. They're going from celebrity to celebrity. They're going from lawyer to lawyer, high profile doctor to high profile doctor. You may come in contact with some of these men once in passing. A lot of these men are not nearly as accessible as you think. First of all, a lot of these men are not on date. The man that you want that has a lot of what you have, his existence is a dating app. He doesn't need a dating app. The idea, he doesn't have to approach women. A lot of them are throwing themselves at him.
Right.
He's not at a lot of clubs, especially if he's a working professional. He's probably not at. He's not in the hood spots. He's at the social clubs. He's at the yacht clubs. He's at the golfing courses. He is at places that you don't even know exist. And you are all on the dating apps or thinking that he's just gonna show up in your mailbox one day. That's a fairy tale. But I know that they don't believe that. So you kind of have to let time run its course. As a man, your job isn't to convince women to like you or want you. Your job is to become the man where that's obvious, that you're desired and in demand. If you become that, there's a lot less work you got to do on the back end.
I know. I could 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
Just going back a little bit to where we spoke about a little earlier. You will know where you stand in the sexual marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Women will let you know. They
Mm-hmm.
will absolutely reject you and have no gripes about it. You will know. They will fade you. They will ignore you. They will
Friend zone you.
text you back, friend zone you. There's so many different forms of rejection, and most men absolutely experience that. Even if you were a genetic celebrity, sometimes you'll still be rejected just because you don't have the bread yet or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you will experience rejection as a man. So we have to learn the hard way that we have to build ourselves.
Yeah. How do you think how are women rejected?
Well, they are F zoned and not friend, right?
Sex zone. Yeah, sex zone, right?
Yeah, that's one way of rejection.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pump and dumped, like
Yeah.
a meme stock.
Mm-hmm.
Those are different ways that they could be rejected.
Or they trick themselves out of their own spot. You had the spot, and you let your homegirls talk you out of it. You let social media talk you out of it. You let your emotions trick you out of it. And then when you try to circle back, he don't return the sender. You good.
Right.
What happens is some of y'all actually had it. Some of y'all actually had the guy. And you saw him building. You knew he was smart. You knew he was in demand. And you wanted him because you knew other women wanted him. And when those other women, popped up or said little stuff here and there, you got tricked out your spot. And now you would rather now go through the carousel of guy figuring this stuff out 5, 10, 15 plus years trying to figure it out when you had the guy already. So a lot of times y'all get in sex zone or you had the guy, and because of your emotions, impulsivity, or listening and allowing single women to keep your butt single, you got tricked out your own spot. So in all those three categories, it's like that's how a lot of times they end up getting rejected. I'll say this to women who like to leave, who like to quit, who like to break up. Men who value themselves, men who have high esteem, men who are of wealth, means, respect, value, and a lot of people like and respect them, his interpretation of you leaving is that you're basically communicating to him, I believe my life will be better without you. I believe my life as a woman will be better without you. Why would I ever reward that by allowing you to come back when I'm doing better than I was when we were together?
Makes perfect sense to me.
If she rejected you in her prime, what they say, don't accept her in her decline. That's what it is. The more respect that he has for you, the less likely you're going to be able to circle back into the road of his success. So when you leave relationships with men that other women want, and you keep leaving because I'm unhappy, he did this, he did that, that's your choice and that's your right. Liberation, feminism, congratulations. But there's a limited pool of men that check off all the boxes that you want, and they all won't be monogamous, and the very few that will, it's usually because they got the money, but they don't have the swag. They got the swag, but they ain't got the money. They got the money and the swag, but they ain't got the height. There's usually a lot of factors for why they can't do the other extracurricular stuff. And you'll be fine with ending up with that guy, but you know you'll be settling. We all know you don't want to get with the guy that you know you're better than.
It's kind of weird because women often say that they don't want to settle, right? And I feel like sometimes they're punching outside of their weight class. And when I say that, I guess that's
okay.
I guess that's self-explanatory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost seems as if they don't understand that men make concessions. Like we don't ever get a perfect female either. So we are absolutely making concessions. Females, like you said, will reject men that or leave men that check off most of the boxes that there aren't many of out there, but for some weird reason or just superficial or just
listen, this is part 3 of how I'm gonna get banned from the internet. All right. If a man can have sex with hundreds or thousands of women and he is monogamous with you, he is settling.
Oof.
Do you hold on, because we will make sure that this is like as clear as possible. If hundreds or thousands of women want him and he can have variety every day or every week and he's just with you, by default, I don't care how amazing the sex is, I don't care how beautiful you are, there's one thing you can't provide that the other women can provide: variety. So if his options are endless and he's ending his options with just you, he's settling with one woman versus many.
Get it, ladies. Settling down is settling.
Literally, like it's like you said, it's so hard for them to think of it through a male lens, especially a male lens of someone who's very successful, very accomplished, very in demand. He is settling by being monogamous. Plop him in any other ancient civilization. How many concubines would this man have had? How many wives would he have had without the disrespect and backtalk?
Right.
All right.
Right.
So
easy to handle.
he's settling for one woman in America, and he has endless options. He is settling dealing with you. Now, to be fair, you may be a high quality woman. You may be able to garner a decent amount of men that may want to pursue you. But if you leave and he leaves, I promise you, if he's the guy you think he is, his numbers of what's in demand and his quality of options, what he's looking for in women is much more common than what you'll be looking for in a man to replace him. So if you can't wrap your head around that there are some in-demand women that are high quality that every man wants, and the overwhelming majority of women are pretty normal and average, and that there's most men are average, and there's a small percentage of men that are in demand, if you get a top 10% man in finances and in height and in charisma and in overall looks,
you're not getting another one of those.
You could potentially, but you have to realize who's actually settling.
Right.
All of those men that have options like that are settling when they choose to be monogamous. if you are so solipsistic where you can only look at things through one lens and it's a female lens, what I'm basically saying is if you don't understand that your man has options and that you are replaceable, you will behave in a way as if you don't realize that that's true.
Right.
You'll have attitude. You'll do a lot of disrespect. You'll do all this. Well, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. There is a clock above your head and you don't know it. So, yes, there's such a thing as men settling too. And the man that all y'all want has to settle when he chooses to stay with one person or be monogamous. Now, that doesn't mean that he settled with the worst of the worst. He could have settled with a great woman,
Right.
a great partner. But by default, if he's the man you want and everybody else you know wants, he had to settle down with you. That's what that means. Now, women settle for men all the time. But I don't think, like you said, I don't know that they've ever thought about the scenario that there are men that are there's a few rare men that are also settling when they date and do life with women.
Right.
So you do know when he stays with you when you have a really piss poor attitude, when you ain't offering sex, when you letting yourself go, and he got all these options, you do know that's a form of settling, right?
Absolutely.
Like, this is not even sexist. Like, yes, women can settle, and a very small percentage of men can settle. It's just none of y'all have thought about the idea of there are men that settle.
Right.
Crazy, yeah. So that's 3 times, man. I'm gonna be in trouble now.
It is what it is. I'm here for it. I got another one. This is kind of on the fly. It just came to me. I'll be honest. If you had to say, right? If you had to pick 3 things,
Okay,
that you think women absolutely get wrong in relationships. We're going to get to the men next, but I wanted you to answer first. 3 things that would probably help them in their relationships. What are they getting wrong
while in the relationship?
Yeah.
The importance of sex.
That's number 1, folks.
And when I mean by the importance of sex, I mean the importance of enjoyable sex. Not where you just laying there and saying, let me know when you finish, right? Sex is number 1 in terms of importance. Number 2, his reputation and you being a reflection of it. I think a lot of times in the quest to be independent and be my own woman and can't nobody tell me what to do thing, you forget as a woman, people's willingness to respect or disrespect your man is heavily connected to the woman that's by his side.
Ooh.
How you dress, how you carry yourself, how you speak. Are you in other men's faces when we're in conversations? These are all signs of how people are, especially men, are judging him.
Right. Absolutely.
So sex, his reputation and you being a good representation of it. And number 3, the value of his voice and his opinion above every other thing that oftentimes women will elevate over it. Social media, their girlfriends, their family, some life coach guru or podcaster on social media. Everybody else's whose voice is the most influential in your life and in your relationship or marriage with this man. Is it the talk show? Is it reality TV? What's the greatest influencing factor? So he said we're on a budget because we need to hit these marks and invest this stuff and we got a plan for the next 6 months. You're putting pressure on him to travel because of what you're seeing online. So whose voice is higher? Whose influence is impacting the relationship more? He said what he wants it to be. He says this is the direction we need to go. Your girlfriends are saying they want you to go out on a girls trip. The guy you chose is saying, I'm not with you going. I'm not cool with that.
I got a question about that.
Yeah.
Psychologically, what do you think it is about women that just don't understand that influence part, right? Because they can go to work every day for someone who really doesn't care about them, that might just view them as a number, and they can listen to every single thing that this particular person says. But if their husband says it, it doesn't hold weight sometimes. What do you think that is?
Propaganda, indoctrination, being born in Western countries where they're given the option to do it. If you're born in a country where you can't work, if you're born in a country where you're more dependent, we're not having this conversation. You have the freedom and flexibility of being able to not only make your own money, survive on your own, and also have options of dealing with men sexually and potentially relationally, regardless of how you act. Just may not be the man you want. So when you have a market like that, where they've been trained, taught, and indoctrinated to not value men's opinions, perspectives, or leadership, this is the scenario you run into. But if you had plopped them in any other environment where one or two of those things are removed, this would not be the same conversation. We have modernized civilization so far to where they can have conversations out loud about, do we need men?
Right. And that's crazy. I'm seeing that come up a lot.
I'm hoping it's not like
not just me.
It's not like all of infrastructure for us to have anything we see around us, drive, walk on, be flown by. Men dominate all these fields. We know it. And we know you and I wouldn't be able to do half of what we are able to do without all the men that are doing it.
Correct.
Right? Modernity, the flaw of modernity is that with ease is a lack of perspective on how hard it is to maintain it.
Right. Almost like the people who grew up with a silver spoon.
Silver spoon analogy, where it's like, if you were born in modernity by default, you don't know what it's like to potentially grow your own food.
Absolutely.
We don't know what it's like to have to hunt.
Right.
We don't know what it's like to have a rough winter. We have resources. If I ain't got no money, I can go for welfare. You know what I'm saying? So like, modernity has created an environment where a huge segment of the both sexes don't see significant, a huge portion of men and women don't see value in the other. It's just that they're responding differently. Men are just checking out. Some men are just checking out, or they're saying, oh, I love women, I just got to go find them over there in Eastern Europe, in Africa, you know, in certain parts of Asia. That's what they're doing. There's a reason, and this is why it's so important for women to understand that the product of what you're presenting, if the customer that you want isn't buying, it's a reflection of the quality of the product that you're presenting. You have to be willing, whether you realize it or not, you have to adjust to the market. The man that's getting no women, there's a problem, bro. You cannot say the problem is all just women. Right. Well, I'm getting women. My homeboy's getting women. So you gonna keep saying the problem is women? Or are you gonna adjust to the market? Now you get to decide if you want to get married because of the risk and liabilities that come with it. But the idea that you can't get women, no, you're not willing to do the work so that you have access to women. A lot of these ladies that are they're trying to dictate and demand what the market is going to give them. The market is the market. Either the customers want the product or they don't.
Right.
That's it. It takes a long time for some women to adjust to the market, and oftentimes their aha moment is after 35, after 40. You cannot be 35, 40, 50 years old talking about what you do. What?
No.
Ma'am.
They're probably not checking for you at this point.
Not the overwhelming majority of men that if he can get you, he can get a younger version of you.
Right.
If he can get you, he can get a younger, fitter, more fertile version of you.
Ooh.
And if he's a man that's smart, of course he would make that choice. Of course he would make that choice. The sole reason he wouldn't get a younger version of you, a fitter version of you, a sexier version of you, is because he no longer wants children and he's comfortable settling.
I got in trouble a little while ago. The video went viral, but I did get in trouble.
Okay.
I pretty much, and they hated it because I said women are like buying cars, right? And they don't like to be hit.
No, all analogies we use about products and objects
they just hate it.
Yeah.
And I said, so wait a minute, you have high mileage, your tranny is slipping. I went there with it, and And then I said, so wait a minute, you're telling me that the value went lower while the price went up?
Yeah.
What? So,
Yeah.
and that's the problem, right?
Uh-huh.
As women become older and wiser, they decide a whole bunch of things that they don't want, and they take a lot of information from relationships that he can't be this, he can't be that. I didn't like that guy. I remember, nope, he can't be this. He has to be this because I had one of those back in the day. I had a dude who made $250,000 a year. So now I'm only dealing with guys that have $250,000 a year, and I'm not dealing with any. So they won't want to. They don't want to deal with anything that they didn't want, but they have to deal with everything that they did ever have access to. Meanwhile, your value is going lower, so your price is going up, but your value is going down. That just doesn't make sense to me, and that's what I'm saying. At least if you want to think like this, you kind of have to do that in your prime, so you can kind of you can ask for a bigger price. But when you're at the twilight of life, then it's a little bit different than you being a spring chicken.
Listen, like you said, a lot of them, it takes a really long period of time for them to realize what you're saying is happening in terms of their standards going up, but how men are seeing them is starting to decrease in terms of the volume of pool of men that they want and that wants them, right? They're like, oh, I'm just going to get better with time. I'm going to get sexier with time. And I said, well, if that's true, then why aren't hundreds and thousands of men lined up outside of retirement homes trying to date your grandmama?
Ooh.
if there's no cutoff, if beauty's just gonna ever increase, then the baddest women on the planet should be in their 70s and 80s. And ain't nobody so there's something that shifts between 20 and 80. And y'all keep thinking you gotta hit 60, 70 to get to that point of realizing like, oh, I guess I can't just only sell my beauty now. Like, no, like beauty is common. Beauty is common, and femininity and softness and a nurturing spirit and a loving spirit is not. So the women who lead with those things are going to end up with the outcomes that most women that are single and don't want to be actually want. If you're leading with your money and just your beauty, that's cool and all. So it's unfortunate, man, because I'm joking around about it, but in reality, it's like it is a serious issue. We're going to be replaced politically as a community within our lifetime if we don't wake up to what's happening in this community. A lot of us aren't having children. A lot of us, are not focused on trying to get into long-term commitments, and we're creating an environment where we're going to be politically and socially irrelevant in our lifetime.
Wow. So we may get to witness this even.
Well, this is an example. The election just happened, right?
Okay.
Such a huge percentage of black women, and a very huge percentage of black men voted, and homegirl didn't win no swing states.
None. And people want to say, oh, they cheated and blah, blah.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I don't need a conspiracy to know that if you functionally are in a party where one party says, we acknowledge that men have issues, we ain't gonna do nothing about it, but we acknowledge it exists, and the other party says, you're a man, so you are the problem,
right?
That's not as difficult of a choice as you might believe to men who think for themselves,
right?
Who are independent thinkers. So you functionally are moving in a direction where you're ostracizing, demonizing men, you're shaming male leadership, you're centralizing a gynocentric and feminine-centric ecosystem. Everything is moving culturally like similar to a matriarchy, and then you're shocked when you're having less status, less value, and less influence in society. It's not that complicated. And then you're propping up all the worst women and defending them publicly when they move like the worst men. And you're calling it empowerment. Come on, man.
Right. So I know it's going to go political on this, but while we're here, listen, I noticed when she had one of her events, she had Megan Thee Stallion
and Glorilla.
Right. What are we doing? Even I think when they had, was it Hillary Clinton? I was talking to Cardi B. This was before, but this is. I'm like, why is she the spokesperson? Why are you going to these people? Why are you looking at the, sorry to say it, ladies, worst examples of humans?
Because who is propping them up as leaders to the community? That's why they picking them, right?
So do you?
Well, hold on, because we're not gonna skip over that.
Ooh.
There's a reason why they picked Glorilla. There's a reason why they picked Meg Thee Stallion. They didn't pick irrelevant Cassandra on the street. They're picking the woman or women who you're supporting no matter how they act or what they lie about. So when they hold on, when they lie about drugging men and robbing them, y'all still rocking with them. Right? When they lie about who did what to Tory Lanez, you're gonna still rock with them no matter what. They can threaten somebody and say they gonna get somebody deleted.
Right.
And you'll say, well, she's still a victim at the end of the day. Whoa, hold on a second. So what we're learning and observing is, so the issue isn't identifying when someone does something wrong, because you clearly can do that with all these men and males that get accused of these accusations. You jump on the bandwagon. I remember how Jonathan Majors was treated.
Right.
So when it's a black man that's accused of something, you jump on the bandwagon immediately to say he's guilty.
Right.
And you double down if it's dealing with a woman that's not black.
You shouldn't have been playing in the snow.
Then when the woman is black, he's still guilty.
Right.
Then when you find out that homegirl was the initiator, the antagonizer, lied, silent, crickets.
Yeah.
Then you have the celebrity icons. We're getting to a point or place where I'm learning and realizing where it's like, the sisterhood has such a toxic nature to it. The best of the women that we do have are quiet.
Right.
Silent. They don't carry themselves that way, but they're not going to speak out because they know what the other black women around them are going to say. So you've created an environment that the best of the best that we have get low coverage, get low publicity, and stay quiet because they don't want to get demonized or criticized by their female peers and counterparts. And then the most loudest and ratchet of us are the ones who dominate our image.
They're elevated.
Oh and then when we bring up men's issues and men's challenges, stop whining.
Right. Y'all sound like a bunch of females whining.
Yes, y'all gotta stop being so sad.
That is so crazy.
Why are we shocked now that men are either staying away from y'all and avoiding you or treating you as just replaceable objects? How did you think we get here? Just because?
No, it wasn't just because.
If feminism, first and second wave, third wave, and fourth wave feminism is a reaction to the perceived grievances and oppression that women believe that they experience and the rights that they were not afforded to them, what do you think this newfound anger, despondence, apathy, and willing to replace you with some women from abroad, where do you think all this is coming from? Because y'all all are acting like upstanding citizens? Come on. If I'm a guy who's going out in the market and women are checking for me, they're not taking me seriously. They're not saying yes on dates. They're using me if they do go on dates for free food.
Right.
They're ghosting me.
I call them plate pirates.
Then I have to acknowledge there's something that I'm doing that's contributing to the outcome of what's happening with the women around me. If a huge pool of men keep screaming, hollering, telling you this is an issue, and you keep looking to the City Girls and Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion as your icons, bro, wake up.
And I realize that, unfortunately, a lot of men are now becoming more, not unfortunately, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Men are becoming more conservative now because it seems like if you're looking at any red state that said DNA is about to be mandatory, that's red states. No blue states decided to say that. It was all red states that said that.
Yep.
In Florida, that's super.
Florida's the first one in terms of the alimony.
Alimony. Right.
You don't think a dude that's single and got means? I don't care what state, what color the state is. They're putting in a policy that addresses a grievance that we have when the other political side doesn't even acknowledge it. Completely ignores us. What do you think? Okay, I just said this to Crimson Cure a few days ago when I was on her platform. Let me get this straight. This was the pitch when you run in a presidential campaign. For the ladies, We got Meg Thee Stallion. We got Glorilla. Go ahead, ladies, twerk. Give them what they looking for. Beyonce coming. This is political stuff we talking about. This is what we got for y'all. All right, how about the men? We got something for y'all too. We gonna legalize weed.
Thanks.
Glorilla, Cardi B, and weed.
That's what we got.
Would they have done this to the Asian community if they were trying to get their vote?
No.
Would they have done this to the white community, to the Irish,
I think
to the top? Like it's not even about the Republicans are so much better. They can pander and lie. Acknowledgement in doing nothing is better than no acknowledgement in demonizing the other side.
So I'll say this.
Yeah.
I think that the worst thing we could possibly do is tether ourselves to a political party.
100%.
I think that our votes should be in the air. And
every time.
Agreed. Every time.
And we should have our list of expectations in order for them to get our vote as a block.
Right.
Right? I'll say this. To all the black people I've grown up with, all the ones that live in the community, if y'all hate me because of my stuff I say about dating, I know y'all gonna hate me what I'm about to say about politics. In the cities where we have voted consistently one way, have our cities gotten better or worse over the last 40 to 50 years? Yes or no?
Worse.
One. Okay. Number two, can you be an objective critical thinker and a group thinker simultaneously? What I mean by group thinker is vote blue no matter who and vote red no matter what's said. Where you're going to vote down party lines on either side, no critical thinking, no, doesn't matter what their platform is. This is my party. They're guaranteed to get my vote. Can you be a objective critical thinker and a loyal group thinker that votes always along party lines no matter what? I believe you can. You cannot be a group thinker that consistently votes along party lines no matter who's running, no matter what their platform is. You cannot be an objective critical thinker if you are guaranteeing your vote.
Right.
Okay, let's make it simple because I know everybody, you a sellout, so you capping for Trump and this and that. Let me make it real plain to y'all. If you're an objective thinker, you would know that at one time we voted Republican and another time we voted Democrat. That means black people can change votes, and that means party platforms can change their agenda.
Right.
Right? So all I'm saying is you wouldn't have called your great grandfather a sellout. What if what I'm challenging is what you're rooting your identity in? What if the question is simple as that? Simple as this. Were you born black or a Democrat?
Black.
Then why is it that we treat it like it's the inverse?
Right. And I think it's weird because Republicans generally weren't expecting our votes. So they're not going to do anything for us.
Correct.
And Democrats weren't doing anything for us because they were expecting our votes. That's why I say we should always be open to changing to whoever is going to bring policies that will effectively help our issues. We don't need to, that's all we need to be worried about. Our issues. Or we bring something to the table. Every other group so happen to do it, right? The LGBTQ, they did for sure. They were like, hey, this is what we want. When Obama came through, they was like, look, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, y'all gonna vote. All right, we got you. And he did it, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get anything because what did we ask for? What did we demand, as a matter of fact? What do we ever demand?
We are really beholden to the emotionalism that leads us to visual representation politics. If we see somebody that looks like us that lands on the political party we want, they don't actually have to do tangible things.
Identity politics is silly.
Yeah, right? So I'll give you an example. I would rather vote for the white person who shares more of my ideals than the black person who panders to the church, who panders to our women, and sells us on all these points that I know aren't going to help our community. We got it. The whole black faces and high spaces thing We got to get that out of our minds if they on the political side that we like.
Right.
Truth is not belonging to a particular political party. Truth, you have to go where truth takes you. You can't take a lie, take falsehoods, and say, well, I'm voting for it, so I'm gonna believe in it. Nah. Sometimes the truth may be aligned with the person you would like to rock with. Sometimes it's gonna land in the other side. What you're saying is what I agree with. The reason why there's a lack of progress with our community is because they believe our vote is guaranteed. When will you, okay, if I knew I had a job, guaranteed, and I could never lose the job, no matter what I do you believe if I was guaranteed to keep that job, that I'm going to show up every day and work 40 hours a week?
What? I'm gonna be working remotely every day. I'm gonna be in bed.
Hold on. Working.
Well,
but you get what I'm saying, like, right? So when something's guaranteed, it's a matter of time before the effort and the consistency is going to decrease.
Right.
I actually want the Democrat Party to be reformed. I want them to value men and male perspectives again. You won't get that until you give some concessions to men and their grievances and issues.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
In today's society, I actually feel like conservative views are closer to where we are. I think that we can. No. As it is right now.
They're closer to historical black views leading all the way up to the 60s.
Right.
We were always ultra conservative. Right. In many respects.
So what I'm saying is, I think that we can probably get to our resolutions sooner with the way Republicans are currently right now than we could with Democrats.
It depends the topic, to be fair.
Right.
It depends the topic. There's definitely topics where I think conservatives and Republicans, some of their policies could be very helpful, and there's definitely some that are catastrophic for everybody. But I'm objective and open enough to go topic by topic to say which side I think more so kind of has it right. Okay. Open borders.
Right.
I'm confused. Now, if somebody was to, you walk in your home, somebody in there on your couch eating your food, what would you do?
Oh, shit. I got a couple of,
Right? Somebody taking, they either walking out in handcuffs or they getting carried out, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. What would your reason for feeling that way be based on?
Because I was violated.
How?
By you stealing from me.
Hold on. Entering into a private property and space that you didn't belong into, that belonged to somebody else, and using resources that were not yours. Your reason. So what if they hold on? What if they said, "But I'm poor, but I'm hungry, but I'm homeless. You got to help me out." Would that change your perspective?
Absolutely not.
Wait a minute. If somebody was in your car and they sitting in your car sleeping, oh, I had to break in, it's cold outside, bro, I had nowhere else to lay down. Same concept, right?
Pretty much.
Why is it? Let me hear this out, man. Why is it that when it comes to you personally, you understand rules, laws, boundaries, and consequences for being in a place and taking things that do not belong to you? You understand that clear as day. You learn that as a child. You understand that when it affects you personally. But then when it comes to these liberal cities, all of a sudden it's the wild, wild west. And everybody tax dollars got to go to everybody from the other world, from all over the world. When they get here, your tax dollars got to go to them. Housing got to go to them. $20 million. Hold on. $20 million got to go to them. And you gonna sit here and look me in my face and say I'm crazy. So let me get this straight. When Western countries try to establish boundaries as racist, but when you go to these other countries, they got immigration laws.
Right.
They got deportation standards. And if you pick the wrong country, your jail time gonna be a lot longer than what's happening over here. Yeah. This is what's happening. There are people who have agendas, globalist agendas, to push westernized, modernized countries to be destabilized. They're trying to destabilize the education system, destabilize the nuclear family unit, destabilize the economic environments, and replace the working class of individuals who have all these rights, who have all these standards, replace them with a class of individuals who are not going to demand those things, and with AI and robots.
Right.
To,
oh man.
So just to clarify, if you really slow down and you learn and observe how they're manipulating and getting their policies every 2 to 4 years passed, and we're losing less rights every 4 years, no matter who's in office. They've got you so locked in on the actual cheerleaders dancing during halftime that you're missing what's happening in the actual game. The people who run the world have given you the choice of illusion. Do you really think the people that run the world will say, here's the option to free yourself? Here's the option to free yourself from our oppression. Seriously? So when they want to destabilize a region, would they want that country to ensure their borders and have certain standards and reward marriages? Or do they want to push for open borders and a low value of men, and a low value of leadership, and a low value of education, and a low value of marriage? Which one is the people who probably is wanting us to move towards globalization and destabilization of nation states? Which policies do you think they want? We get to a point politically where our community was so politically robust in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We understood communism. We understood the flaws of capitalism. We understood Marxism. We understood the pros and cons of each one and which parts made sense for our community. We understood that. We were moving in that direction. Now you can't find 3 people in your life that's read a book in the last 6 months. Right. And the ones that do and speak out about this, if you don't vote the way I want, you a sellout.
Crazy.
I'm sorry, man. I'm not saying it's something that I'm gonna be covering on my channel.
Right. Yeah. No. I'm definitely into that as well. I've explored quite a bit of politics on my channel, and I think it's important, right? And
it affects everything.
The way that society is going right now, this is often referred to as an experiment.
Yes.
And I think that most people are interested in what's going on here is because it's almost like bad TV. We're the most fascinating because what is actually American culture? Do we really have a culture? We don't have a culture. We don't have a religion. We don't really. What do we really have? Right? It's
choice.
Right? Do we?
Unbridled freedom.
Do we?
Unbridled.
Do we? Or the illusion of choice.
Choice and freedom and all the wrong things.
Okay.
We don't have choice and freedom over the land that we live on and stay on because we have to pay property taxes in perpetuity. Right. We don't actually have true free speech because there's certain political topics we know will get deplatformed if we bring them up.
Absolutely.
We don't start talking about gender, you're gonna get canceled. And God forbid you say that you know what a woman is and it don't align with the current narrative of what a woman means in today's standards. So we're not free in all the areas that matter. We're only free in the areas that are destroying our social cohesion.
Sheesh.
So they freed us in all the areas that leads towards licentiousness, wilding out, having fun. You can drink as much as you want. You can party as much as you want. You can smash as many people as you want. You can have as many children as you can humanly possible make. They've allowed all the freedom in all the areas that's destabilizing our communities and families. But when it comes to the things that matter, they got a real tough standards and consequences if you step out of those boundaries. We as a community have to wake up and start thinking and voting like you do. We need to come up with a list of things that we are not willing to compromise on. That if a politician doesn't give it, they don't get the vote.
Right.
If the party doesn't give it, they don't get the vote. What if you became loyal to these ideals and to these requirements than loyal to a party?
Then you'll start getting results.
You'll start getting results. Shocking. Shocking.
But it's so difficult for us to get on the same page with this. I would definitely encourage people who do have platforms to start to speak about these things more. Yeah. It's extremely important. And it's not just about us, right? Yeah. A lot of us, we have children and then our children's children. Like, if people weren't thinking about us, then we would be much worse off than we are today, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just as important for us to continue. If you care about legacy, then this is something you should be doing. And if you don't, you probably should think twice about having children.
And number two, man, Malcolm X really, really warned us about the groupthink indoctrination that we're in now. He warned us about the very party that y'all are so loyal to. He warned us about, he saw two sides of evil. And when y'all get ready for these elections, you only acknowledge one. Y'all quote him. Y'all be referencing all these civil rights icons, but did you ever read their writings? Did you ever see their concerns about capitalism and the duopoly? Did you ever see his warnings about liberals? His warnings about conservatives?
Right.
His warnings about how one side will just outwardly hate you and the other side will act like they love you but use you and manipulate you to achieve their other agendas while you end up still with nothing. And I really, really hope with people like you, me entering into this space, at minimum, we push people to start reading more, studying more, challenging ourselves intellectually, versus constantly being locked in and arguing coming from a place of our emotions.
Right.
These two parties were not designed to be beneficial to the black community. Period. Especially in modern day. Where our stats are worsening in all the major areas. And one party won't acknowledge it and the other party acknowledges us to keep it going.
Right. So I'm going to ask you a different type of question, right?
Yeah.
You can start politically, but then you can even expand on to what you may think relationships would be like too. What do you think we're going to look like in another 10 to 20 years?
If we continue down the trajectory that we're going right now, politically will be irrelevant. Majority of our women will become genetic dead ends. Not majority, a huge percentage of our women will become genetic dead ends. The men that are of status and means will find women here or abroad to procreate with and continue their legacies. And we will no longer be the movers and shakers of anything, including pop culture.
Whoa.
Because if they can take your talent, if they can co-opt your, what was the most recent movie with Michael B. Jordan and Sinners? There was a scene in there where a group of white people walk up to the dancing spot. There was a club, right? And when they walk up to the kickback in the middle of the country, and it was a club thing, and all these Negroes are dancing and having a good time, and they're seeing how lit it is and how fun it is and how everything's going on, and because they were so distracted with the entertainment, they didn't see the evil, they didn't see the envy, and they didn't see that the people who wanted what they had was going to figure out ways to extract what they could until they no longer needed them anymore.
Wow. Now, that brings me to my next question, which is different, right? We didn't even think about discussing, but I see your range right now, right? So I kind of want to go there.
Okay.
What do you predict AI is going to do to things, right? This kind of relates to what you ended that with. Go ahead.
This will be easy. And it'll affect both genders in the community at some point. But the first thing it's going to do is humble the women that said they don't need men. When your desk job can be automated, when your comfortable job in the air conditioned space no longer is needed because the AI can just do it. They have AI right now that's coming out with better, more accurate, and more robust diagnostic results than licensed doctors and clinicians that have worked for 20 years. So some of the jobs that's probably most likely to be replaced first are the ones that don't require manual labor. Who dominates the manual labor jobs? Men. If I lose my job, I can go on a construction site tomorrow. I can start digging holes. I'll do the dirty work. I'll be carrying trash. I have the anatomy be able to kind of adjust and deal with that. A lot of y'all ain't gonna be standing on top of roofs. A lot of y'all not gonna be sitting outside for 8 to 12 hours. So the first thing that's probably gonna happen is a recognition and a reestablishment that perhaps they do need men after all. Then eventually it'll hit the men too. And if and when it hits the men, and you have a huge segment of the population, a huge segment that's now homeless, jobless, the government's now going to have to intervene because they allowed it to get to this point.
Almost kind of like Andrew Yang. Remember, he used to talk about UBI?
Universal UBI. Now, this is the problem with that. When you move closer and closer to a socialist or Marxist utopia, you've effectively given your existence and ability to survive completely into the hands of the state. Everything. Well, you can't work. You can't produce your own. What's to invest? Everything you get in terms of food and resources and everything is now from the state. You've now handed over all of your freedom to be able to do, move, act. So when the state says we need rations, and when the state says here's the curfew, and when the state says the power gets shut off at 10 p.m. every night. Okay? So if we don't in real time, as AI is developing, is developing way faster than I realized.
So right? I had there's a former Google I don't know if he's an executive
developer or executive,
right, developer, right? And he was talking about it. He said that AI right now that they were developing has an IQ of about 150, which is insane.
Yes.
Right? They said by next year it'll be 1,600. So just think about that. The rate, what people don't understand is the scale, the rate of advancement that AI is making to the point where it will be able to develop and build and everything. They already have brick and mortar jobs that are taking over.
I've seen them doing a little bit of construction.
Right. So some of that is coming. That I think, but it's even difficult to predict when it's going to happen because the rate of development is nothing like we've ever witnessed before. You can kind of tell 10 years we'll be doing this, 20 years. You used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that. It's absurd. It's going
to replace all the women that's on OnlyFans.
That's what I was going to say. It already started.
Yes.
That's already started. Right now there are. I follow one of the AI virtual not for let's
bro, we're gonna have a conversation after this. What's going on?
Because I'm so fascinated with technology, and this is something that I try to bring to the spaces that I'm in. I want to see what the advancement is like. I remember the first couple of videos. I'm like, oh snap, they're getting better. And once in a while, you'll flick through, it'll pop up. You'll be like, oh, that's an AI joint. Yeah. But it's getting more and more and more difficult. Like last year's AI ain't even this year's AI. If you look at it, very different. That little thing they had with the rock. That thing they had with the rock, that was like, it's looking so primitive. Now, it's very difficult for you to even be able to understand what's the differences now. So I'm like, ugh. And I was saying this on one of the shows, and they were looking at me like I had two heads when I said, hey, women, you're going to be the first. All your cush AC jobs and the sex industry is going to be eliminated very fast because we might not be able to touch that because we out here, right? We're not doing it. But guess what? The next generation who only orders their food from home, who does not do anything. I'm looking at the stats and just the psychology of some of these new ones coming up. They don't do anything. Even my kids, they could literally be on their phone all day. They don't have to interact. I have to stop them. I have to cut off video games and different things and try to balance them. My wife does an excellent job of having them interact with other children and different things, right? And just making sure they're touching grass. And, you know what I mean? Literally. So that's important. But this next generation, a good portion of them don't need human interaction like they used to. So that AI stuff is about to be real. And I don't know if there's some companies, I'm not going to give them any plugs right now, but they have some dolls that look real, talk to you when you come home. Well, it's already too advanced.
When these dolls are able to clean, cook, and sexually satisfy these men, that it's going to start with the incels. It's going to start with the men who are involuntary celibates who, for whatever reason, don't have successful women. They'll start with the OnlyFans subscription to the AI, where the AI responds, it talks, it's nice, And then when they get the version where they have a real life version of the AI robot, so to speak, and it does everything they need it to do, the idea of a real life person who gives attitude, who picks, I'm not having sex with you this month. Bro, so that's the starting point. Then you're going to get to, in China.
I was gonna. Oh my God!
Go ahead. I'm not even gonna spoil it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say somebody's going to come up with this technology. It's gonna be way overpriced. Mm-hmm. China's gonna reverse engineer it, steal the IP, and make it for like 5 racks. And then you're going to be able to absolutely mass produce it and finance it. Once it's all on some where they can finance it and they can pay like $50 a month, or even if it's $100, whatever it is, they're gonna go ahead and do it. Asia's already experiencing some of these issues. They pride themselves on being a populous country.
Yeah.
I think that their numbers are absolutely inflated just because it doesn't make sense. They have many problems, social issues. North Korea's going crazy right now. They have banned every form of contraception possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of countries. Asia's actually a good way to kind of see
what's coming.
Yes, the trends.
And the crazy part is because they're more advanced than us technologically, and then factoring in this concept of leftover women in certain Asian countries.
Oh yeah, after 25, they have a word for them, right?
They call them leftover women. The women that keep saying they don't need a man, it's not a priority, that's your choice. But that may soon no longer be your choice in the next 10 to 15 years if you don't make enough money to be able to sustain yourself indefinitely. I highly, highly, highly encourage 2 incomes are always better than 1. Right? So we have to adjust to what's coming because it's not going away. It is coming. And you have to figure out as men and women how to diversify your skill set to buy yourself additional time. If you do not do these things, you will be in the homeless shelter. The rates of foreclosures is going up. Repossessions of cars, student loan debts are kicking back in, and whose rate of unemployment went up the highest in the last 6 months?
I don't even think we gotta say it.
Exactly. So, and that's not a coming at black.
No, we
thing.
get it. We get it.
This is a early warning sign that as more and more AI develops and more jobs decrease, you're now competing with the most competitive people in the country. And forget if we still had open borders, who you'd be competing with. So this is a warning to you that there may come a period where you may have to wait 6 months or longer to get a job as a cashier.
Damn.
So it would behoove you to not just prioritize your career, but also prioritize a relationship. Build wealth together. Pour into each other. Don't let the gender war social media stuff kind of trick you out your spot and trick you into thinking that the opposite sex has no inherent value. They do. It is imperative for you to work on your stuff, heal from your past decisions and choices and trauma, and prioritize not trying to do life alone. I'm, as a man, telling you, you need to get with men that have resources or have the ability to be resourceful. I'm not telling you to be a gold digger. I am telling you that if something were to happen to me, at least my wife has the means and ability to make income. If something were to happen to her, at least I have the means and ability to hold down the fort. But when you're gambling when you hold everything in and keep so everything is on your own. So that would be more or less what my warning and suggestion is, because that's by 2035, 2040, a lot of these jobs won't exist anymore.
They won't. I truly don't believe they will.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but I think that's what we're actually looking at. I think most of they're coming for these jobs, and there's nothing we can do about it. Most of them are going to be gone, and it's a shame that we're probably going to be facing a situation where we have to just have some type of income, like we're all going to be on welfare. It makes for a simple life, but
in some ways, and you're going to give up a whole lot of freedoms to experience that. That's what comes with it.
I don't know if we're ready for that.
It's something
that sounds
that
scary. That part right there, letting go of your freedoms. I don't like the sound of that part, but it's probably inevitable.
if we as a community and as men and women, both of the black community and Americans in general,
Right.
if we don't wise up to what's coming our way and see what the World Economic Forum, the WEF, and other globalist groups are pushing for and towards, if you don't see what's coming and you're not getting your finances and wealth in order over the next 5, 10, 15 years, you're going to be in a position where you're stuck and have to accept whatever the state has to offer versus being able to relocate to another country where your money goes further and longer.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Listen, we covered so much today, even a few things that I didn't think we would cover today.
This was good.
But I certainly appreciate it. Before we get out of here, I definitely want you to let everyone know where it is that they can find you. Any projects that you have going on or anything that you just want people to know is promote time.
Okay. All right, y'all. Well, one, thank you again for allowing me on your platform. And for all of you who are listeners and are watching, my Instagram for the podcast is Ask a Brother Podcast on Instagram. It's also on TikTok. It's also on YouTube. My personal page is by the St. James. I'm newer to this space, approaching and presenting myself as a clinician, and also just a normal dude that's very interested in politics, very interested in psychology, very interested in what's happening to humanity and specifically the black community. And my hope and goal is to say things in such a way to kind of shake us as men and women to realize there's a sense of urgency for us to really, really lock in, start building, let go of the things that we think have brought us to this point and say, you know what, this is my part that I need to change. Are you willing to meet me in the middle? So, man, thank you for your time, bro.
No, thank you so much for coming through. And if you're in this far into the video and you haven't subscribed yet, shame on you. Go ahead and like the video. Don't be a ninja watcher. We appreciate you for coming through today. We love you for watching us and spending time with us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you spent it here with us, and we certainly appreciate you for it. And as always, stay hungry, my friends. Never thirsty.